Thank you for joining VirtualPBX-admin training. Going to wait just a little bit, but I cover some, administrative details. If you're a vConsole customer, we no longer provide the vConsole live trainings. However, you can still find them on our website. So if you go over to support, go to vConsole support, which is where I'm already at, and you want to scroll down, and the full admin training for vConsole customers is right here on the right, the advanced admin training. And then down below that, we have the various vConsole related guides and walkthroughs for features or VoIP phones. Likewise, if for some reason you're not able to stay throughout this whole training, under Dash Support, scroll down, and the new user training is the full training for Dash. And likewise, down below, we have the write-ups of the various features and VoIP device things. And for all guides, we do try to have screenshots so you know what to look for, or to hopefully help recognize what it is you want to do. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So you're going to start on from virtualpbx.com. You mouse over support, click on PBX login. Scroll down a little bit. So your Dash login, that's where we'll be going shortly. Down below that, that's the VirtualPBX web phone login page. So this is actually a VoIP device for our Dash customers. It allows you to use a desktop browser that's currently restricted to Chrome and Firefox to make and receive calls. Basically, you just add the device on your user, and you use your same Dash logins to log into the web phone, make and receive calls right from your browser. It's not currently fully supported on mobile devices or mobile versions of Chrome or Firefox. Like, I have gotten the web phone to work on my Android phone. However, we've had several customers have mixed success on iPhones, for example. So right now, we're just saying it's restricted to desktop versions of the browser. Our engineers are working on a new version of the web phone, and so hopefully they'll be addressing the mobile application as well as adding additional browser support. Further down on this page, we've got the vConsole login. So this is for our vConsole customers. But we'll go ahead and get over to the Dash login, see if I actually remembered to log out. Looks like I did not. Yep. So this is our queue as if you're an agent. And depending on what you have access to, you can see what agents are on calls, etc. I'll go ahead and get logged out, and we'll log in properly so we can get to our demo account here. All right, so your username is always going to be an email address. Watch your capitalizations as your username is case sensitive. Any browsers will start off your first initial with a capital, and by default, we don't have capitals as part of your username. You can always click Remember Me, and if you ever forget your information, you get your Forgot Info link here to the right. We'll go ahead and get signed in. Now, the first time you log in, the new system wizard or whatever will come up with a bunch of pop-ups giving you like a brief explanation of what you're looking at, like your account information, etc. But once you've done that, this is your normal start page where you log into the dashboard. So users, these are your fully functional users. These are people who make and receive calls. They have access to a variety of devices. So they can use VoIP devices, they can use a cell phone or a landline. However, on those two, they're mostly just receiving calls. They have a lot of features. I mean, they have voicemail, that's automatic as soon as they're created, but they can make use of call forwarding, they can have hot desking, they can have conferencing, they have follow me calling, so they can manage, or you can manage the devices in terms of when they're answering what. Below users, we have agents. These are people specific to ACD queues, which was that previous page I was in before I had to log in. Agents are typically just receiving phone calls, and they are restricted to VoIP devices only. So, physical VoIP phone, a soft phone, or the web phone. And they basically only have voicemail as a feature. Down here, we have your total devices, and then a breakdown of the device type. If we go over to the right, main numbers, these are your phone numbers that your customers are dialing to get to your phone system. These numbers will behave the same way. So like default is we have main numbers go to the virtual receptionist. This means calls come in, from these three numbers, they would go to that virtual receptionist. They would all hear the same main greeting and then route the same way. Down below this, we have your fax box number. This is for your incoming faxes. And you can also have your conference bridge number if you choose to have conferencing or make use of conferencing. These are your total phone numbers. Assigned numbers means these are numbers you're making use of. They go someplace on your system. Spare numbers are numbers on your account you are being charged for, but they're not going anywhere right now. Basically, you're waiting for a particular ad campaign to use them, or until you have enough growth. You're like, oh, we need this extra number now. And then down here, a breakdown between, in this case, US local numbers, US DID, and then US toll-free. Company directory users. Users can determine if they're in the user directory as well as you can when you create them. The account ID is this long script here. You can always use that to identify your business to us when you communicate with VirtualPBX. We don't expect you to actually rattle this off, like if you have to call in to either billing or support, for example. Usually our staff would just ask you for your company name. It's usually easier for everybody. And then down below, we have the account realm. This is used for programming third-party VoIP devices, soft phones or a VoIP phone that you can't auto-provision, as also used for outbound faxing if you're making use of that. Okay, we're going to go up to the top here. Caller ID. This is your system default caller ID. You can actually select it for the different numbers if you wish. Then you have the company caller ID name or CNAME. This is restricted to 15 characters. This includes spaces and special characters. This is as far as I know, this is an industry standard. Basically, CNAME is supported by a large quantity of carriers in North America. However, not every carrier does support it. When you update this page, it takes roughly 3 business days for the various CNAME servers to be updated. So if you update it on a Friday, you probably won't see any results of it until probably the following Wednesday, maybe Tuesday. And what that does is, or I guess some concerns about CNAME. One, obviously if a call goes through a carrier that doesn't support CNAME, CNAME doesn't get through to the other person. Even for those carriers who do support it, if they're having some sort of maintenance, that's the first thing they stop from going through, right? Their first concern is getting the call to go through, and then the caller ID number, and then caller ID name, right? So first thing gets dropped. And then the last thing just to be aware of is if you're calling someone who has your company number already programmed into their phone, whatever their phone has you labeled as will always take precedence over whatever we send, right? The local device takes precedence. And I guess one final note, Most cell phone carriers don't provide the CNAME information for free. Normally, it's a paid service. So testing to a cell phone isn't always the best option. Hold music. This is your default hold music. You can upload media files to Dash. You're restricted to, right now to .wav, .wav, or .mp3 files, and they're restricted to 1 megabyte in size currently. So like 1 megabyte MP3 is roughly 5 minutes, typically enough. In terms of music on hold, this is after someone's actually connected to a user, and then that user puts them on hold. Right? In terms of as the customer is calling in, they're still just hearing the ringing tones. You can upload. You click upload. You find the file on your computer, and then you click on the little blue icon here. And then that will upload the file, and then you would click on Save Changes. And then we have hours of operation. Ooh, why did that take? Oh, I scrolled up. There you go. Hours, or your open office hours. So by default, new accounts start you with 24-hour open office, meaning, hey, calls can come into your system because you signed up. Most people, that doesn't work, so they go and choose custom office hours. Every day of the week, you put a check mark in front of that you're open. Then in the boxes to the right, so here and here, you select your open hours in 24-hour time. Nice little feature down here is if your whole office or store closes for lunch, you put a check mark here, and then you put your lunch hours. And that way the system knows, hey, lunchtime, boom, puts you in lunch mode. Don't have to think about it from day to day. And again, click on Save Changes for any changes you make. Whoops. Office holidays. You can set your holidays in advance. So and you have the option here, single day, date range, and advanced. So single day, pretty self-explanatory, President's Day, now almost 2 months ago. You put in the month, the day, that's it. Click Save Changes. Obviously, this date will change next year. So like, it's probably going to be the 19th. So you just click Save Changes. And now I'm ready for next year, right? For something like 4th of July in the United States, that's easy. You just put it once and you have to worry about it. It's there all the time. Date range, that's this option down here. This is you're just putting a few days in a row. So in this case, December 22nd to the 26th. The one caveat for date range is you don't want to have it cover New Year's Eve and New Year's Day because there's no option to enter a year. The system doesn't handle that right and basically puts you in holiday mode all year. So basically for that time of year, we say, hey, just do one single day for New Year's Eve, single day for New Year's Day, and then on either side of that, you can do date range. Then in advanced, this is, in this case, I'm changing this the second Monday in March, we're closed. The holiday for us. Okay. Incoming call handling. So this is how your system is going to handle calls. And you have these options. So first thing to notice up here at the top, you have these little sub-tabs. So open hours, when you're open. Your lunch hours, because I clicked that, we're closed for lunch under the office hour strategy. After hours, so what can happen when you're closed. And then holidays, when you're closed for holidays. The system defaults you to open hours because that's typically what most people focus on right away. All right, so this option here, incoming call comes to the virtual receptionist. This is a link. once it loads, here we go. So on the left-hand side is your main menu. These are what your customers press on their phone to navigate to different parts or to different people. So this little icon here, like 3 little people here, this is going to a ring group. It's basically a hunt group, basically a department. But you have your options here, right? You can send it to the directory. You can send it to an individual. These are call queues down here, so ACD queues. You can send it to a device. We don't typically recommend it, but some people choose to do so. You can send it to a media file. Basically, you can have it go to a greeting. The downside of sending it to a greeting is once that greeting stops playing, the call ends. And then you also have the option to send to a voicemail box. All right, so 1, they're going to go to Borderlands 3 info. All right, pressing 2, they're going to go to school ring group. Number 3, they're going to Ray Palmer. 4, they're going to the Smart Directory. 8, looks like they're going to Charles. 9, they're going to the presence test. Now, all these are great and wonderful, but your greeting, you probably need to tell them what to press to get to who, right? I mean, people might just guess randomly. That works, but usually easier to tell them what to do. So first up on the right here is greetings. This is a text-to-speech. Basically, type it in. Usually I suggest that, like, if you've never used a PBX system before, or you're just not sure how everything's going to get set up yet, I say start with text-to-speech because it's easy and it's fast. You just type in what you think you wanted to do. You click update. You'll click save changes. Then you can start testing, right? And if you're, oh, wait, that didn't sound right, or I want to change this option, you can just edit the script right off the bat. Upload your own file. Again, if the system's looking for MP3 or .wav, you would find the file. Right, it's going to say, hey, we're for a file on your computer. And then you would click update. Choose from existing recordings. If you've already uploaded many recordings, or if you were migrated to Dash, all of your previous recordings will show up here. You can record it over the phone. Now, this is specifically tied to a VoIP phone on the system. So you have to add in a VoIP phone. And then you can tile in and enter in that PIN to record over the phone. And then professional recording services. We've actually partnered with another company called Snap Recordings. They have their own. This is like a brief rundown, but if you just click order, it'll take you to their site. And you can do greetings, announcements, voice prompts, message, and music on hold, that sort of thing. The main thing is they have like 100 voices to choose from, voice actors to choose from. Pretty handy. You have your different versions of English, you have Spanish, you have French, and then you've got bilingual options. And then they have their own pricing. They handle their own billing. They handle their own delivery. Again, any changes you make here, you click save, and then you have to click save changes here. So you have to click save twice. All right, sorry about that, getting pinged from some other people. All right, so main fax box number. So this means you're going to make use of faxing. Basically, you expect people to fax you from time to time. You can always unassign a number. If you edit the fax box, it's going to bring up a pop-up. Oh, that didn't work. Why did that happen? Interesting. So normally, a box opens here, and you can enter in an email address. Looks like there's something wrong with this particular fax box. So I'll have to investigate that later. All right, let's go over to numbers. All right, so numbers, basically this shows your numbers in use and where they're going. You can always click on the gear icon to add caller ID, E911, and prepend. Prepend, by the way, only works on VoIP devices. Basically allows you to add text or digits in front of the caller ID information. So basically allows you to give your staff heads up about the kind of call that's coming in. Under spare numbers, these are numbers that you have on your account you're not using, so you can see your inventory and decide what you want to do with these numbers. You always have the option to buy numbers. Now that's how the system adds numbers to the account. So if, for instance, you just signed up and you have no numbers on the account because you opted not to select them, if you click buy numbers, you're not going to be charged for your first number or even your first two numbers typically for most accounts, right? It's just how the system or the engineers decide, hey, this is how we're going to add numbers to the account. Local, you would enter in an area code. So we will go with, we'll try 50. Do a search. System says, hey, these numbers are available. You would click add, and then you can add multiple. Like I can do this if I wanted to. And then you would click buy numbers. The system will then verify that the numbers were actually still available, and then we'll add them to your account. And then you're done. And this list is dynamic, so it can change from day to day. So just because, like on Friday, you're kind of looking through numbers, oh, those are nice numbers. I'm not sure if I want those. And then Monday, you come back and check, it may not be there. So if it's a really not like a number that I think is really cool that you really probably want, add it. You can always get rid of it later. Port a number. So this will start our port process. And basically what this is doing is you're moving a number from another carrier. So say from AT&T to VirtualPBX. And this can actually walk you through the process. But basically what it is we need what's called a letter of agency, an LOA. We have them on our website that you would fill out. And that needs, the information on that needs to match what your current carrier has on file for that phone number. For local numbers, we would need a copy of the bill as well. You send them both to porting@virtualpbx.com, and that begins the porting process. Once we get information, we will let you know, saying like, it got accepted, here's the expected port date. Or we'll say, oh, it got rejected because like an address mismatch or whatever reasons that your other carrier gave to us. And you don't have to really worry about saying, oh, to get rid of a number, basically it cannot be assigned to anything. So you need to unassign it, basically put it in spare. And then you would click this box here, click delete. It says yes, successfully deleted, and then you continue. All right, switching over to users. So these are all the users on your account, and you're paying for each one. To add a user, click up here at the top, add user. You enter their name, you enter their email address. Each user has to have a unique email address. So if you just have support@virtualpbx.com, you can only use that once, even if you have 20 people who get that email. So basically, you just need to make sure that each person who's a user on the account has a unique email address that they can use to log in with. You create the password, main extension number. So I started this system off with extension 1000. So the system knows that the next available main extension number should start with 10, and in this case, that's 12. This is when you have the option to include it in the user directory. Don't worry, you can always do that. You can change your mind later on that. The most important one, though, is this one here. Send credentials to this user. So that way they have the information to log in. And then you click Create User. All right. If you click on a user's name, you can always change the name. Right here, right down below here, you can change their credentials. So if they need, like they've totally forgot their password, you can change it for them here. You can change their voicemail box PIN number. Send an email to alternate address. Basically, this is in addition to this email address. I'm also sending to this other email address. basically someone's home address versus their work address. Right, here's the option to include in the user directory. Admin, as you can see up here, I have this little blue suited tie person icon, whereas this person here only just has the gray icon. So that's how you know between admins and users. Downside is if you're a single person operation and you change yourself to a user, you click save and you log out, then there's no one on your account that has admin access. So please don't do that. If you happen to do that by accident, just email support@virtualpbx.com. Just let them know what happened and that you need to have admin rights restored to you. Well, here's your time zone, your language, your ringing timeout. Basically, how much time that by default the system is going to try to ring to your device or devices. Now, on my particular user, I have a feature enabled called follow me calling or follow me. So that's why this is actually grayed out. If you don't have follow me enabled, then this is defaults to 20 seconds by default, but you can always change it. Basically, click on the box, enter your digits. The main fax box number, basically, this is what the system associates as your primary fax box, or sorry, your primary extension number, which means it's also associated with any voicemail box that's associated with that. Over here, this is your extension, or in my case, extensions. So a user can have multiple extensions. Typically, most people just have one. The main use case I know of is within our own company, VP of sales. He has multiple extensions because he's had some turnover. And so he wants to make sure the voicemail boxes of those employees who are no longer here still have someone to go to. And so he takes that responsibility and makes sure that those voicemails are responded to. And that way we're not losing potential customers. Right, phone numbers. You can have a specific phone number go directly to this user. So it's not going to go to that virtual receptionist. Instead, it's going straight to me. And then going to ring to my devices. Right. Again, usually something like salespeople typically would prefer. That way, on the business card, they just put their one number, boom, goes right to them. Devices. This is how you add devices to your user and can see what's on your user or various users. You can add from spare devices. This means you've already added the device to the account, but you haven't actually associated it with a user yet. So they're just kind of sitting there. Or you can just go new device and choose your option. So a SIP phone is a VoIP phone. We just use this SIP protocol. I forget what SIP stands for. Last one is protocol though. But anyway, these are the phones that we can auto provision. Basically fully supported phones. You click on it and you look for your phone model. Right, so some manufacturers have more models than, say, others. So basically, you find the phone, you give it a name, so something you'll recognize, like Bob's phone, something like that. And then you enter the MAC address. This is a unique address that's on each phone. Usually it's a sticker on the back of the phone. Hopefully it's labeled MAC. Sometimes it's a serial number. It's also normally on the box that the phone came in. And then you would click on Create Device. Now, in terms of the dash interface, that's all you need to do. But for VoIP phones, we actually have instructions on our website. You have to go into the phone user interface to set it up to accept auto provisioning. And then when the phone reconnects to internet, it'll grab the correct information. Cell phone and landline are basically the same. Basically, you put in a device name, and then you enter the number. Make sure you add that +1, and then the area code and number. If you don't have the +1, it's not going to get connected to that device. And then under advanced options. So this first one here, that's unchecked, allow use of cell phone's voicemail. So by default, when Dash sends a call to a cell phone or a landline, when you pick up a call, you're going to hear the automated voice say, "This is a forwarded call. Please press 1 to accept the call." Right, so that way, audibly, you know, oh, this is a work call. It's not your mom calling you on your cell phone. Now, some people don't want to deal with it, or they think it takes too much time for them to hear it and then press 1. They just want to pick it up and go. Put a check mark and click Create Device or Save Changes if you've already created a device. So what that does is you don't have to press 1 to accept the call. The downside is that if your cell phone voicemail picks up, that inbound call is going to your cell phone's voicemail. Some people think that's great. Other people don't like that. Okay, keep original caller ID. Basically what it is what caller ID information are we sending to your cell phone or landline? So if you have checked in front of this keep original caller ID, that means that's the caller ID of the customer who's calling in. If you uncheck it, what you get is the phone number they called into, right? So like your main number will show up on your phone. So that way you have a visual idea of, oh, this is a work number or work call. And then hide from contact lists. This is so that way your staff members won't see your cell phone number. Soft phone. Should probably read this. It's basically saying, hey, make sure you have your 911 information updated. So you create a name, something you'll remember. The user and the SIP password, these are what you would use to program your soft phone application. So like if you're using XLite from Counterpath, this is the information you would need. You're also going to need that realm information that's down below. Now, if you're going to use the VirtualPBX web phone app, VirtualPBX soft phone app, what you would want to do instead, click on this little grayed out area here, use VirtualPBX application, and then you put in the device name. When you hit create device and save changes, the system will then email you your credentials for the soft phone from VirtualPBX, and you just have to download it to your phone or whatever, right? But if you're using third party, then this is what you use. And most of this you don't have to worry about. You just need to then create it. Web phone, you always want to create this on a user. You put in a name, and then you hit click create device, and then you can log in to the web phone directly. Landline is the same as the cell phone, and I don't think any of our customers use fax or ATA, so we'll go ahead and skip those. User features. All right, caller ID number. So this only works if this person has a DID, right? So they have a number in that phone number field. They can click on that. They can click on, and now they can show their own caller ID. Right? If they click it off, it's going to be the default main number. Call forwarding. So call forwarding is designed or the idea is that you're primarily using a VoIP device or a desk phone. And if you know you're not going to be at that phone, you would enable call forwarding to then go to your cell phone, for example, or to your landline if you're going to work from home and you have a landline number. Right? You don't want your forwarded devices to be actually on the user itself. Right? So if I'm going to forward to my cell phone should not be on this account. You have a couple modes. Default is off. So failover mode basically means the system detects your VoIP phone is not connected. Call comes in, it's going to send it to your forwarding rules. Right? So you say, oh, I'm going to send it to a mobile phone. Here's my number. Again, +1. And then you can say leave voicemail on the forwarded number if you want. If you uncheck it, it just leaves it on the system if you don't pick up. Then you say only direct calls. Basically, people only came into your user versus like from a transfer or from a ring group. And then keep original caller ID so we can see if it's a business number or not. And then on means I know I'm not going to be at my desk phone, so don't even bother with it. Just send it to my forwarding device. Hot desking. So this is if you're in a used or a shared use space. Basically, you have staff members who will move around from desk to desk on a day-to-day basis, right? So on Monday, you're at desk number 3 with phone number 3. On Tuesday, you're at desk 17 with phone 17. Well, if you have hot desking enabled, basically what this allows you to do, you create a hot desk ID, you can log into the phone that you're physically sitting at, and calls to your user will go to that desk phone that you're sitting at. the end of your shift, you log out of the hot desk ID, phones go back to normal. So again, if you don't have a set desk space in your office, hot desking is pretty useful. Voicemail automatically enabled on any user. Fax box. You can set up each individual user with their own individual fax box. Usually not necessary because not that many people are faxing anymore. But if you choose to enable it, you can have a specific phone number. So your spare numbers, for example. This is where they're going to be sent to. If you're going to send faxes out, so you have +1 area coded number, then you have, this is your realm. And then you attach a PDF or a TIFF to your email. Main things to remember with this is there can only be one attachment at a time. So if you use an email client that attaches a signature file, you need to disable that to make use of faxing. Obviously, if you have several different documents, you're either doing several different faxes or you're going to merge them into one document. Right now, I believe the max file size is around, well, the most I've seen us successfully send out is 7 megabyte fax. However, that took an hour for it to get sent out. So it can take a while. Follow me. This is an instance where you have the user has multiple devices. This actually isn't very well set up because you should have it started there. So basically what I'm saying is, on this case, that's actually still not set up right. I wonder what is going on here. So you always want it to be something kind of like this if you have it staggered. So I'm having it go to my web phone first for like 60 seconds. And if I don't pick up, then it goes over to my cell phone. Now I can have them both overlap, right? So I'm playing around with the sliders. So for the first 60 seconds, both phones are ringing. And then after that first minute, my web phone stops, but my cell phone continues. I can do this instead. Click on distribute. I can also change the order and then redistribute. Music on hold. I can have my own hold music. .mp3, .wave, just click enable, upload the file. Call recording. You can choose to have call recording on your users. So for users, call recording is this customizable. Basically, inbound internal means another user on the system called me, recording that call, right? Inbound external means someone outside the company called me and got to my user, right? So then outbound internal means I called another user. Outbound external means I called someone outside the company. For recording on ring groups, which we'll see later, it's basically you record all the calls coming into the ring group or not. All right, that is users. Let's go to ring groups since I just mentioned it. All right, so ring groups are generally speaking departments or groups of people with similar responsibilities. Right, it could be that, oh, they just answer tech calls, they answer general information calls, what have you. So you click on add group, you create a name. So we'll call it Gymnastics. And then you want to give it an extension number. And this is so that way your staff members can transfer calls to it. And then you click and drag the people you want in that ring group. Then you click create the group. Now if you click on the name of the group, you have new option here is dialing repeats. Basically, how often do you want the system to try to send the caller through that ring group? Over here, little arrows, and you can up it. I usually say you probably don't want to go more than 2 or 3, but again, you may want to test that just to see how it works for you. If you click on members, okay, you'll see the call distribution. Right now, your total ring duration here is 120 seconds. However, if I left it just like this, after 20 seconds, the call ends. Obviously, I have to ring through, so it'd go through another 20 seconds, and then back through a third time. After that third attempt, it would end the call or go to voicemail, depending on what I tell it to do. I can click distribute, do that way. Again, I can adjust the sliders. Oops. I can change the order. In fact, I can move myself up here. Right. So you can move around the sliders and adjust how you want the ranking to go. But this tends, from what I've seen, a lot of customers do something like this, or they just have everyone for the whole length. Now, one thing to keep in mind about calls coming into a ring group, even if, say, Lewis here was on a call, bring this back up real quick. So say Lewis is on a call, another call comes into the ring group, he's still going to hear a call waiting beep to let him know call's coming in until someone else answers that call. Extensions, so you can have multiple extensions just like before. Phone number, you can add a phone number so it goes straight to this ring group, so they don't have to press a menu option. And then there are group features. Call recording. You want it on or off? Ring back, this is essentially hold music while the person is waiting for someone to pick up. So again, you can always upload a file or just choose a file you already have on the account. And the main thing about ring back is you want that file to be at least as long as your total ring duration in the ring group. Next action. If no one picks up, what do you want the system to do? You can send it back to the main menu or a voicemail box, as well as devices and users. I usually say send them to a voicemail box. Allow call forward. Basically, do you want your users to be able to make use of call forwarding? Users who are in this ring group, do you want them to have call forwarding allowable to them or not? And then caller ID prepend. This is for your users who have VoIP phones. You can put in a name prefix. So you can say gym. So they say, oh, it's a gymnastics call. Right? Or you can put a number prefix if you have a particular number identifier. Over here, we got devices. So these are all devices on the account. The first ones are all associated with users. As you scroll down, then you see, oh, I have ones that are not. So then I can always move them to a user if I need to. You have the same option here to add devices as you had under the user. So for instance, you're setting up a new office or new store. You don't have users set up for it, but you already have the hardware for it. I'm like, well, we can just put them on there and then we can associate it to the users later. Voicemail boxes. So every user has their voicemail box created when the user is created. The system automatically creates its own main voicemail box. You don't have to use it, but it's there so if you want to at any time. And then you can always create a new voicemail box. And the reason you would create a new one, for instance, is for a ring group voicemail box, if you don't want to use someone else's. So you would put in a name, a number, and a PIN number. Option, actually, we don't. Once you manually create it, you probably want a greeting media file. So it's basically a voicemail greeting. You can upload one. It's usually the easiest way for a manually created voicemail box. And once you've done that, then under options, you can click check mark under already set up. Recipients who get the voicemail notifications. Just put in the email address, click add, and you can add multiple people if you need to. Agents, so these are people who are associated with my ACD queues. And again, just like the user's first name, last name, a unique email address, password, etc. Click on their name. You can always convert them to oh, that's weird. Oh, convert to a user. Oh my God. So this would change them from an agent to a user if you want to. And then devices, again, you're restricted to VoIP devices. All right, next up we have feature codes. These are basically buttons on your VoIP phone you can press to access different features of the system. So these are available here, but they're also available on our public website, so you don't have to log in to look at them. Call center, these are for the ACD queues, right? Call forwarding, so this is so your agents or your users can set up call forwarding just from their phone. They can also set it up by logging into their user portal. Hot disking, etc. The call logs, I don't think there's going to be much here, but basically shows you your call activity on your system. The green arrow to the right means this was an inbound call. If you have an orange arrow, it's an outbound call. You can click on a call to get some additional information. And then you got the little gear icon here to give you more technical information. All right, next up we have your menu over here. So dashboard is what we're on. Down below that, this is queues, and this is where you would manage your ACD queues. Click on the gear icon to adjust. Actually, hold on, let's go back. You can always add a new queue. Each queue is $30 per month. So I'm paying a lot for these. Probably need to get rid of some of them. Queue name, call-in number or extension. So an extension is basically what you transfer, what your staff members transfer to, or you can select a number. So that way that people just call into it. Your routing strategy, round robin, is essentially random. I mean, over time, it'll be equal among all the people. Least calls, that's who's had the least amount of connected calls will get the next call that comes in, right? So Bob's spoken to 15 people, Mary has spoken to 5, Mary gets the next call, right? Least offers, who's been offered the least amount of calls. So Bob's been in for like 3 hours, he's had 40 calls offered to him. Been a busy day. Mary just signs in, she's gonna get all the calls that come in initially. Now, if Mary is, and let's say Mary, Dan, and Todd all sign at the same time, then it's going to rotate between the 3 of them until they equal what Bob's at. And then most idle is who's been waiting around the longest for a call. You got your hold treatment. You can upload a file in terms of hold music. Again, make it, you probably want it to be MP3 and no more than 1 megabyte. Queue timeout in seconds, basically how long are people allowed to wait on hold. Queue call limit, how many people are allowed to wait on hold. Escalation queue, so if you say you want like one group is like, okay, you're primary people getting it, but if you're all busy, you can have it calls flow over to a next queue. You can do so. Obviously, that would require 2 queues, and then you would just select the queue that you want it to go to next. Or if you leave it at none, after this timeout, what do you want the system to do? And usually that means, hey, send it to a voicemail box. Agent recovery timer. Basically, after they're done with a call, how much time do you give them to recover, get a sip of water, finish up their tickets, whatever. Force away if rejected or missed. Basically, if an agent misses a call, the system will put them on away status, and that means that agent needs to mark themselves available again to start taking calls. And then agent connect timeout, basically how much time you're allowing a call to try to connect to a particular agent. Okay, blacklists. This allows you to block calls from connecting to your system. Basically, you have someone who is harassing your staff, or it's the same caller ID and it's a robot dialer, and you just say, you know what, we're tired of it. We'll just block this number. So what you do is you edit blacklists. You choose the list. And then in the box here, you put +1 area code and number. And then you would click save. You go back to settings. And you want to make sure it's under selected. So if this was over here, for example, that means I have no blacklist in effect. Once I move one over here, you click update. Now that is the list in effect. And I can create separate lists. I can have multiple lists going, or I can just create one huge list. Purely up to you. All right, faxes. This is the fax manager. So as an admin, you can get to any fax box on the account and take a look at what's going on. The main thing is, or what I use it most for, just because I answer phone calls about it, is the emailed fax logs. Basically, this lets you know, why did a fax fail, right? So you or your staff member was sending a fax out, like, oh, thumbs down, that's not good. Click on the little eyeball, and it says, hey, I don't have a fax box. That's why it failed. Recordings will take you to the Recordings Manager site, which is hosted by Amazon. User portal. So this is what your standard users will see on their own. So they have voicemail, they can see their call history, they can see their faxes. Conferencing, or the contact list, is basically just the users on the account and the ring groups. Conferencing, if you have conferencing enabled, then this allows the user to control their conferences. All right, so you can invite people, basically within the company. You can lock a conference so no one else can join once you've already started it up. You can mute everybody. You can unmute everybody, or you can just end the conference. Also, if you have participants, you actually have individual controls, which allow you to mute a particular person, or you can just kick a particular person. Of course, the main thing people are going to use is under settings devices, because this is where they can enable their own call forwarding. And as an admin, you have access to your own user portal from this page. Voicemails, this is just like the fax manager. It's a voicemail manager. You can get to any user box to get to whatever voicemails they may have. And then webhooks, this is more of an advanced feature, basically allows you to use APIs to link your Dash with particular other programs. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of support for it under support because, well, it's a little bit beyond our capabilities. So basically, it's mostly because it gets under programming that gets a little bit beyond what we have time to train our staff on. And that is Dash. Feel free to sign up for another training if I went over things too fast and you want to listen to it again. We obviously have the recorded trainings, so you can go back and listen to it whenever you need to. And we have the guides on the site. If you need to contact support at virtualpbx.com by email. If you need to call them, it's 1-888-825-0800. Option 2 will get you to support. Option 4 will get you to our account services team, which is basically if you want to change your plan kind of thing. And then option 5 is our billing team, which if you have a problem with your bill. But beyond that, that's all I have to cover for today. So I thank you for your time and have a wonderful rest of your day.